going on?
What's up?
I am Words, that is
Equality.
And this is the Soundmind podcast. We're back at it again. Wanted to thank you guys first for episode 1, right? It was a success. A lot of I think dope feedback. I think we got some people want us to look at the camera more, so we're gonna try to look at the camera more. And also the mic. We got the mic a little closer to our faces, so that way you guys can hear us a lot clearer. So we're gonna touch on a couple things. We're gonna touch on actually writer's block, like what you do, what kind of like what our recipes and our remedies are to overcome writer's block. But before we get into that, I wanted to kind of touch on our resumes, because I feel like on the first episode we didn't get a chance to talk about that, our resumes briefly. So I'll let AQ, the vet, go over his resume.
Well, I've been making music now for about 15 years, 16, give or take. Started at 16, a lot younger, but not really into the studio till I was like 16. So, I mean, started off as an artist, trying to write, and then I got into the engineering side, and then now recently I'm producing. So I've had a solid 16 years of just, overall touching base on all sides of music,
How many projects you think you've done up to this point?
Projects?
Like projects or like even singles or stuff that you've done through the years? Because I know you got a whole freaking iTunes playlist of how much music you got stacked up.
Yeah. I mean, as far as music, as far as projects, man, at least 15, 24 projects. I mean, at first it was just, learning, didn't really care about projects, just singles and recording. But songs, I have a lot.
Like in the ballpark, what do you think, like number wise?
Man, like
thousands,
2,000, 2,500 songs.
That's work, fam. That's work.
This year alone, I probably got like 500, 600 songs that I've recorded,
bro.
Yeah, so
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's work ethic, friends. That's work ethic. Me personally, to touch on kind of like I don't even call it resumes. I think more of just like accolades, things that have helped me get to the point where I'm at now as an artist, and like being on a podcast with Equality. I've done the Cato challenges. If you don't know what the Cato challenges are, you go on Instagram, you can do those if you follow Cato on the track. He has challenges, and getting beats from him. He's produced for Hobson, B.O.B., Tech 9, the list goes on. The guy's an incredible producer. So doing those challenges, being a part of, working with his production, put me in a space where I had more ears and more eyes looking at me as an MC. Then even a little bit before that, I did the Team Backpack Cyphers. The first audition was in L.A. I went to L.A., auditioned, and the first audition, I sucked. I didn't do well. I rocked it, but I didn't do as well as I thought I was gonna do. And then I learned from that, and then I went the year after. I went to New York, to Brooklyn, and auditioned there, and ended up placing top 12 out of 600 people, dope. Over 600 people that
damn, that's dope.
that audition, So it was kind of crazy. I got tore up though on the top 12 by this white dude named Ren Thomas, who's a fucking monster. He's a beast, but he had a first solid round. We went head to head, like cipher wise, like who had the best 16, and he was just like, he fucking ate the mic. And then they gave me a whack ass beat, and I just couldn't fuck with it. So I fucking lost my train of thought. I freestyled. I said some whack shit, and just ate shit on stage. But
hey.
But I learned from that, and I grew from that. And then when I came back home from New York to Chicago, it kind of opened my eyes to like where I needed to get to if I wanted to get to that other level. And mind you, at that audition, Cassidy, Sahai the Prince, Joel Ortiz, Twista was there. Like it was a huge event. So like me seeing all that, experiencing all that, and then coming back home, I was like, yo, I gotta get on my shit. Yeah, I gotta get on my shit.
That shit'll make you or break you.
Hence why I'm here with Equality. So I did my first project, More Than Words. When I did More Than Words, I came to the hit shop. I met Equality, which was recommended to me by Juno, so shout out to Juno for that. I met Equality through that relationship, and then ever since that, we just been working together and just trying to do different shit, doing the podcast, working on a project together, and we're just trying to build this platform together for our community, and not just that, but you know, we're trying to set a platform so when we do drop our shit, y'all fuck with it. So
and hopefully, help other artists too.
Exactly.
Showcase their music and
have guests.
And their talent.
Have some of you artists out there who are trying to get a name for yourself send us music. I think that'd be cool too. So we got a lot of things that we want to do, but we're just baby steps. First, you guys gotta watch. So hopefully we get some views on this one. So yeah, so let's segue to writer's block. So I get it all. I honestly think the older I get, the more I get it. Writer's block, like, it gets harder for me to like find inspiration, maybe because I've written about everything in my life, so it's like it kind of gets harder as you get older to find things to write about. New things, at least. I'll let you go. Like, what do you do for writer's block? Like, what's your remedy? What's something that works for you for sure?
Well, with me, I mean, sometimes whenever I'm stuck on production or even engineering, sometimes it gets hard because you get stuck in doing the same thing sometimes. Like, personally, I just, like, I either take a break, couple days off, or, I like to watch movies. I like to watch movies and just observe and try to, catch things that give me ideas, and then as far as, like, production, I like to listen to other people's music, like, and sometimes it sucks because, like, I'll be on iTunes and, like, there's no good new music, you go through every song, every album, and it's like nothing inspires you, like sometimes you get an artist here and there. I found a couple artists on iTunes that were low-key really dope, and that's it. They inspired me to get on the keyboard and on the program and just make beats. That's what I use, movies, or even like listening to other podcasts, other producers talk about how they get out of their little cloud, little fog or whatever. That's what I do, just put on, listen to beats, and even go on YouTube, listen to these producers' beats, and that's what I do as far as trying to get out of there.
Dope. I think for me, for as an artist, like watching movies without the sound on, like the other day you had it in the studio, like you had, because we got a screen behind the camera for those like watching. And so usually when I come for a session, A Quality has like either Netflix or some shit just randomly on the screen, just playing, and then we're actually recording. So as we're recording, it almost feels like I'm writing a score for like an anime. He might have an anime up there. He might have like a random 90s, early 2000 movie playing or some shit, some futuristic shit. The other day you had like Altered Carbon series playing. That shit was dope. So like even coming, sometimes you can find inspiration just coming to the studio and just being around creative vibes. I think that helps a lot with writer's block. For me, long walks on the beach. No, I'm joking. That was horrible.
Let me know next time.
No, what was I gonna say? No, what helps me honestly is just like you gotta, I guess, living life. You gotta live life a little bit. You gotta give yourself a break. Maybe walking away from when you're writing, walking away, letting it breathe. Sometimes if I find myself like late at night, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, an idea comes and I'm going frantic. I'm writing, and then I get stuck, and then I'm just like trying to force it because I want to finish it, but it's like I'll go to bed. Read it in the morning, sometimes with a fresh pair of eyes, and it might help me complete my thought. So sometimes just chilling, letting it breathe for a little bit, coming back to it, not forcing it. I think that's key. A lot of people force shit, and like they're in the studio and they're in time constraint. But I feel like if you just let it breathe for a little bit, just walk away from it, give yourself some time, and then come back to the verse or the 4 bars you wrote or the 8 bars that you wrote, I think that kind of helps.
Even like picking up a book, reading, and comic books, and stuff like that.
Anything creative, man. Anything creative, even like drawing, painting, something outside of just doing what you usually do when it comes to rhyming and shit like that. I feel like sometimes artists get stuck on a certain cadence, on a certain flow, on a certain way of doing things. And sometimes when you get that writer's block, it's almost a blessing in disguise because it gives you a break from what you're writing. But then when you come back to it, you might have a different approach. And that can create a new style in itself. Like I'm starting to learn that too. Like I wonder I find myself listening to like Kendrick or like Cole or Cole doesn't really switch up his flow a lot, but on the KOD on that new album, he's doing a lot of flows that he usually you wouldn't even think Cole would rap on. So like even listening to that and just trying to pick his brain while he's spitting those verses, I'm like, man, he had to like really just like reset everything and just like go in the studio and just allow himself to flow and let those cadences and those new flows just flow out of him because I feel like a lot of other artists force that shit.
Yeah.
His almost sounded natural. Like it didn't take much.
I feel like sometimes you can't follow a format, like I feel like there's no wrong way in doing this, I feel like if it sounds good and what, it's good, like for example the song that we worked on, how we did the verse and then
yeah, and then the little
part,
speech,
and
then it goes into the second verse and then hook out.
I feel like sometimes not following the format, just going in there and just doing something different.
Being creative, yeah. Just being completely creative, having a blank canvas. Clue Rock says something really cool when he heard our stuff. He's like, most people, when they have a blank canvas, they have, on the notebook, you have lines to kind of like
guide you.
He's like, but when I hear you guys' music, it's like a blank piece of paper. It's not with no lines. You know what I'm saying? It just just goes. So I thought that was a great analogy. I thought that was a great comparison. Like, that's super true. Like, I think when you're in the studio, when you're creating, whether you're a producer, whether you're an artist, like, that's key, man. You want to make sure that you don't constrict yourself. Just because it's 16-bar verse, hook, 16-bar verse, bridge, out, like, that's what you're used to doing. Break out of that shit, man. Break out of that shit. Do a verse, bridge, then maybe a hook or maybe no hook and then straight to the second verse. Like, there's so many ways you can approach music. Like you said, there's no right or wrong way. It's just as long as it sounds dope, I think. Yeah. That's all that really matters. But yeah, I think writer's block can be difficult. Sometimes I find myself maybe 2-3 weeks without actually writing something. But that usually happens when, like, with us, since we're working on this project, I've been writing a lot because you've been dishing out the beats like, yo, I got another beat. So, like, the next day I might come here. So I might not have a full verse ready. So it's like it almost forces me to write, right? Which is a good thing. Yeah. But I found myself when other people hit me up, other than what we're doing, like, hey, I need a verse for this or I need a verse for that, I find myself stuck because I'm like, well, everything that I'm going through right now in the moment, I've written for this project. So it's like when people are like, they throw me songs that are in a similar vicinity of what we're doing. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I just already spoke about this. Like, how am I gonna do it in a different way? So that does happen, and I think for me, what works for me is just, again, living life, seeing things through different angles. Like, I might visit another verse, read it again, and then say, okay, well, maybe I can just take this little part, use it as my, like, base, and then just go on a different angle from there. So, I mean, I don't know for producers, like, what else you would recommend in terms of writer's block or getting stuck on a sample or trying to chop a sample up?
I'm still in the process of trying to even grasp that, like, as far as engineering, man, sometimes keeping it simple, Sometimes when you think about it too much, it's not good. Sometimes you just gotta just go in there, keep it simple, what was that saying? Less is more. Yep. Sometimes the less you do, the more effective it is, So
I call that the KISS method, to keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. Keep it simple.
And it works. Some tracks don't need nothing at all. Just a little polishing, reverb, echoes here and there, delays and stuff, and it's a good song, Sometimes you don't need all that extra sauce to make a song really good. Because I've noticed when I listen to the radio or I hear like songs and like in the industry, it's not really much going on. The beat.
It's kind of the same thing as over and over. Same snare, same kick or whatever, same 808s.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of all similar. It really, I feel like when you listen to a lot of music, the drums, the percussion is usually kind of the same. It's the sample that'll kind of make what you're listening to different, which is, it really isn't different, but because, it's a new way to chop a sample up or a sample you've never heard before, it usually makes it, that's what makes people say, oh, that's different, it's different. Drake is doing something different. 40's doing something different because the way he chopped it up here, or the way he filtered this out and then brought the reverb in.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, honestly, man, like, writer's block is what you make of it, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you just got to do what feels good, and you don't want to force it. You don't want to come to the studio and force your art. That's the last thing you want to do. Sometimes it is good. Sometimes forcing it does help, maybe in tight squeezes, like if you absolutely have to. I find myself, like, if I force myself, sometimes dope shit does come out. Sometimes I'll have, like, a gem, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of writing that, but because I'm in the studio and there's pressure of time and I have to make sure that I capitalize on my time in the studio, it forces me to think fast. So I get in the booth, and something that I might think might not work because I didn't plan it before getting here might work, and it does end up working, or it ends up being better than what I thought. So I think writer's block is what you make of it. It is a pain in the ass. Some rappers, some artists are really cool, and they be like, nah, man, I don't believe in writer's block, man. I live life every day. Every day is a verse. Every day is I'm like, all right, whatever. I mean, you're fucking superhuman if you can do that. But sometimes, I think if you're a regular human, you do get stuck.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like different styles. I mean, because I know sometimes 16 bars may seem like a lot to write, but sometimes it's on the way you deliver it, because you could rap, really fast, and each bar will be you have to write more,
Exactly.
If you slow it down, then you write less, and if you're doing a melody, then you're stretching out what you're talking about, so that takes out more of the space that you gotta fill. Exactly. So sometimes even switching your style, your delivery format in your verse can help you get out of that.
It's that it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that helps too, as far as the format and how you if you're going straight bars, like straight through, I feel like that's kind of a lot harder.
That's the path I take. Yeah. I just go straight fucking through. I give myself no space, and sometimes I should give myself space because some beats require that, letting it breathe a little bit. But I like the style of filling in those gaps. Like I don't like having any empty spaces in my verses. So like I need to write that way. That's just.
But that's a good thing. I mean, because then when you get down to doing a song and you're doing a melody, then it's a lot easier.
Exactly.
To chop it up, because you have all these bars, and you could just even with the stuff that you already wrote, like if you wrote it like just going straight bars, you could just switch it up and put a little melody here and there, and that's different already.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, writer's block. There's really no like clear cut solution. I mean, it's just things that inspire you, man. Things that inspire you. Spending time with even family, like having, what helps me a lot too. I got cousins. I got a lot of cousins. I got a lot of family. They tell me some crazy ass fucking stories, like something that might be happening in their lives, or some gossip that my mom might wake me up with, like, mira, bochinche aquí. So you might have those moments where, you're taking a break from whatever you're doing, and you might talk to a family member, and they might trigger something. They might say a story, or a story when you were a kid, or, even dark shit, like, stuff that you subconsciously you're going through that you're not even, like, you're not even thinking about, but something may trigger it. Like capitalizing on those moments of those moments where you're feeling something. There's something that you're feeling. Write it down, man. Even if it. I had a conversation recently with one of my friends, and we were talking about writing, and she explained, she's like, you just don't write, like just write regular, and I'm like, what do you mean write regular? She's like, just like write regular sentences, like just write how you're feeling. And I was like, no, because if I'm gonna put my pen to the paper, I might as well just write a verse, right? So every time I write, I'm like, I try to make sure that it rhymes, like the first line rhymes. She's like, but that. So she's like, so you're telling me you don't write regular and then try to come up with rhymes around what you're writing?
That's kind of.
And I was like, nah, I'd rather just write, because I'm gonna use it for music anyway. So why am I gonna write like I'm writing it in a diary? I might as well write my rhymes as such, structured as a song.
But I feel like that's kind of cool, a cool idea too.
It is an awesome idea.
Because sometimes I feel like maybe as a writer, you get stuck, like you said, you get stuck on an idea. Maybe sometimes what you're thinking, you're trying to translate, and you're trying to find words to rhyme it, and you don't get the whole idea of what you're thinking of.
And I think that's what she was saying.
That'll be dope. So like actually write what you're feeling, or what a memory you had, write it down, and then find, you know what I mean, like
rhymes
putting all that.
it.
Yeah, because I feel like ideas, they come in your head and they go quick, you know.
That's true.
And sometimes you'll be thinking, damn, what did I just say? You spit something and you didn't write it down, and it's totally just leaves, you know. So I feel like that's kind of like a dope idea though.
Yeah.
Like
so when she gave me that, I was like, nah, I've never really like thought about it.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of confused. I was like, yeah, that you're right. I should probably like write in that space, but I've done it for so many years like that. Like just like it's automatic. So she's like, no, just don't get. She's like, I feel like you're giving yourself boundaries, and you're also like limiting yourself to a certain structure. She's like, just free write, and then from there pick out those key points, and then fucking make rhymes about it. And I was like, that's kind of have a point. Yeah, you kind of have a point on that shit.
That's dope.
So so even having a conversation with my friend, that triggered that, and that kind of like helped me look at my writing different. Dope. So now I have like notes on my phone of just like regular thoughts or regular conversations that I had that I thought were weird or made me feel a certain type of way, and then I'll use that as a verse, turn it into a song, and then you can elaborate on that. You can fucking do so many. You can do so many things with that. So, so I think. On it. Facts. So I think again, going back to the writer's block subject, even having conversations with family, even touching up on friends, just being around creative energy. I mean, those are really the main recommendations I think we can give them. I don't know if producers do anything different, or as an engineer, do you do anything different? It's kind of similar.
It's similar, you know. I feel like sometimes you just gotta stop thinking so much, you know. Let the universe. Sometimes, you know, like you just gotta let the universe like feed you, you know, like. You know, one time I was thinking about something, and I was just looking at signs, and I was just looking for ideas. Man, I need an idea for a song, and I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna look at storefront signs and just billboards, and boom, I got an idea just by letting, you know, looking at everything different, you know, because sometimes when you're driving home, you're just looking straight ahead, just in your thoughts. You're not even thinking about anything. Sometimes you need to observe and see what's around you, and you get, man, the universe feeds you, like, even if it's somebody walking down the street weird or doing some crazy shit, like that shit feeds you. Let the universe feed you, you know?
Another thing we were talking about off camera was how do you juggle everything that's going on in your life to find time to write or to find time to get inspired and all that shit. Like, I feel you have more to say on that than I do because you got children.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you even find time, or how do you even feel? I don't know.
I feel like,
how do you juggle the time?
It comes. I feel like,
because you're a machine, bro.
Man.
Real talk, you're a machine. You're a fucking machine. You're here all day.
Yeah. As far as making time, I feel like it all. I feel like you adjust to everything. You know, I remember when I had my first kid, I was just so like, I was like, man, how am I gonna do this? You know, you hear all these people talking about it and telling you things, but once you're in it and you're doing it, it's different. You know, you adjust your life, even if, you know, like, you don't even know what you're really doing. You're just adjusting. You gotta adjust. It's the only thing. That's the only way to do it is just to adjust to it. You know, and me having three little girls. I mean, I give a lot of credit to the mother because she takes on a lot of that care and a lot of taking care of the girls. And we talked about it before, just having a support system, you know, like,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, you have to make time. There's time. Sometimes you feel like you don't have time for everything, but you got to separate the time you have with your family and the time you have, because I work too, so I just, you know, I feel like all day I'm thinking about music.
Work ethic, bro. Do you ever okay, real quick. This is a side note. I want to ask you, I've been wanting to ask you this, like, even before the podcast, do you ever find yourself in real life situations, like, let's say your wife says, Ray, we have to go. You forgot that today's the dinner with friends and family, right? And you're at the function, but all you can think about is, like, the beat you made yesterday, or the verse that you laid down the other night, or, like, the fucking song that you made yesterday, or you can't wait to come to the studio, and then people are talking to you and trying to talk to you about the crib and like, you know, my gutters. I was unclogging my gutters the other day, and you're like, in your head, you're like, I don't give a fuck about gutters. I'm just trying to get this 808s and these reverbs. I'm trying to get, like, you ever find yourself doing that shit?
All the time, man. All the time. I kind of had to stop, you know, like, now, like.
That's real shit.
Yeah, now it's like, I don't really, like,
that's
I used to talk about music all the time to everybody, you know, and now it's like I don't even talk about it. And then, like, I still have that problem where I'm constantly, that's what helps me get through the day at work, you know, just, man, I'm going to go to the studio after this and everything's going to be okay. And then I'm going to go home and my girls are going to be waiting for me, you know, tuck them in, and, you know, it's just, you got to separate. You got to know when to separate. And it's still hard for me to separate, because sometimes I be out with the family and I'm, like, itching to be at the studio, or, you know, I had to learn how to put my phone down and just not look at it, because it's like, you know, you got people hitting you up, and and it's kind of, like, disrespectful for, you know, for the family. So I kind of had to learn how to just
control that.
2 or 3 days out the week for them, and the rest, you know, working and studio. So I work 8 hours a day, come here, put another 8 hours, you know, go home. That's another separate job. Cutting the grass and feeding the kids and taking them to camp and all that.
And if you got a dog, clean up the poop and the backyard and the, you know, and cooking and cleaning and, you know, the whole nine. Like, I know. Yeah. It's definitely a struggle and a balance. But if you have the work ethic, you can definitely achieve it. I think. I think it's just like you said, just prioritizing
yourself.
Prioritizing, organizing your life in a way where you make time for all of that, and all of that falls into place. And, you know, one thing that a lot of motivational motherfuckers talk about, like Gary Vee and, like, Cato and all these other dudes that I watch, they talk about, hey, it's like you're given the same 24 hours A-Quality is given. I'm given the same 24 hours he has. So, like, there's no reason why, if he has an incredible work ethic, there's no reason why I can't have the same work ethic, if not more, because for me, on my end, on the personal side, I don't have responsibility as children or a wife or a home like that. So, like, I should be grinding as hard, or if not harder than A-Quality. I guess for me on my end, being that I'm a single dude, I don't, you know, I think balance is key, right? Because I have a regular 9 to 5 that takes up a lot of my time, trying to make money to pursue a dream. So I kind of, like, thankfully for me, I got a job where my scheduling is a lot more flexible. So, like, if you need me to be here on a Monday, I can give up my day on a Monday and then pull a double tomorrow and still make up for the day that I missed yesterday. So, like, my job is very flexible that way, but it took time for me to get a job that was that flexible in order to pursue my dream and in order to have balance in my life, because I found myself, like, I had a regular 9 to 5. I had a corporate job at a bank that I hated with a passion, wearing the suit and tie and everything and greeting customers and being friendly and trying to be, you know, something I wasn't, because I wasn't that guy. But, you know, you do things to make a living. But I found myself that I wasn't giving myself balance, because that job started becoming more of my life than what I wanted, and I was unhappy. So finding that balance, and that could definitely stop you from writing. That can stop you from getting inspired, because you're putting all this energy into something that's not benefiting you as a human being. So you lose the momentum to write. You lose the momentum to wanting to network with people and talk to people, because you're busy trying to live this other life that really isn't you, and it's
you.
consuming your time, consuming everything that you're doing. And then when you want to do music, it's like the last thing you want to do is music because you're so like jaded about everything. So
Yeah.
or unhappy.
And certain situations in your life too, as an artist, could have an effect on the writer's block too.
Exactly.
As far as like, you know, like relationships and
your mind
arguing
state.
with your girl before a session or before
Yes.
you write, and sometimes that, you know, that plays a role in just not being mentally there with the music, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been there a lot of times, but I mean, life is life, and you just gotta roll with it, learn how to adjust to everything.
Yep. And if you're a G though, and if you get into an argument with anybody before your session or before doing music,
just smack them.
No, not even smack them, but that too. You can do that. But I think using that fuel and being like, fuck it, like, hey Q, today I'm not feeling turn up. Can you give me something that's a little bit more heartfelt? Cause I'm feeling kind of like on some sad shit, on some somber shit. Like, you match that energy so that way, if something fucked up happened to you in your life, if something messed up and it's not working out, I think the best option is really diving into that feeling and not restricting yourself, not allowing that writer's block to stop you just because you got into an argument with so and so about whatever. No, use that as an actual subject in your music, and freaking go in the booth and talk about it.
We're gonna be in the studio crying.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? If that's what it takes, like, I think, but though I think those are ways to kind of like slow down writer's block, or kind of like not let it sit with you for such a long time. Yeah. You know, if there's something you're feeling, man, just write it, get it out there. Finding the balance is up to you, right? Because only you live your life. Nobody lives it for you, right? So we can't tell you exactly what to do, because everybody's circumstances are all different. Like I said, I position myself in a way where my 9-to-5 complements what I'm doing right now, where I'm able to do a podcast, where I'm able to record music, where I'm able to collaborate with other people. But that's because I positioned myself, and it took years to get to a point where I have that balance. And then, on my way to work, I might write a verse. On my way back, like, I take the train a lot, public transportation, that helps too. I think being around people, being in the public, like, or just taking a walk out to the park. There's the 606 trail by my crib. So I go on a run. I'll go on a mile run, and I have my phone on me. And something might, I might be listening to something on my way while I'm running my mile. I might see something fucked up or whatever. Boom, I write it down and use it as fuel, and then come back to it when I get back to the crib, and I'm cool. So I think it's all about balance, man. Honestly, if you're an artist and you're struggling with writer's block or anything like that, or just creative block in general, there's really not a set formula. I think just going out there and experiencing life, that's the best option.
Sometimes stepping back for a couple of days helps. Sometimes forcing it sometimes helps.
Taking a vacation.
Yeah.
You might need to go on a vacation. Maybe you're burning yourself out. Yeah. Maybe it's too much for you. Yeah. So maybe getting away for a couple of days, for a weekend, for a week.
Getting some sleep.
Yeah. Getting some sleep. That's important. Exercise. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Be healthy. Yeah. Health is first, man.
Oh, yeah.
First and foremost.
Having the energy to be in the studio.
Yep. Eating right.
Or just, like staying up while you writing, because sometimes I'll be here looking at this screen, I'll be nodding out, and sometimes when I have the energy, when I just finish working out, I feel I could go for hours. So having the energy, like you said, too.
What do you think is the benefits between concept and just freestyling a project?
I feel like if you have a concept, then you got to focus on, going that one route. And I feel like you get to really dissect the ideas on that one concept, like really focus on that. And I mean, if you're recording just random, just rapping about just random stuff, none really connecting, just one line after another, I feel like sometimes that can make you like get into that writer's block, because you're not really writing about
anything.
It's anything specifically you're writing about, just in general, just a bunch of different things, you know. And if you're working on a project that's has a concept, and I feel like it's better, you know, because you're really like elaborating on what you're talking about, you know.
Facts.
So,
facts.
I feel like that's.
I think, you know, when I think about conceptual albums, because what we're working on is like conceptual. I think about, like, in school they used to teach us how to do outlines. So I don't know if you remember how to create
the little circle,
yeah,
the brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming, and you create the outline based on the like 5 points that you want to focus on a project. So I think doing that kind of helps, even though there's a certain parameter or kind of like limit you have on a conceptual album. At least you know what you're going to be writing about, and where you want to take the journey. So put, like, even writing down an outline, not even just actual verses, just outline.
Yeah, people
brainstorming.
That.
Yeah, that shit helps. When you, I feel like when you, what were you gonna say?
I forgot all about that. I used to remember
brainstorming,
right? That helps.
That helps a lot, dude.
Yeah, put the little idea in the middle, and then put branches out, and what you could talk about this and that. That works.
Yeah,
because then you're sitting there and you're like really thinking about that one main idea, you know, and breaking it up.
I've seen Drake. I think it was Drake. This other artist named Boogie, Westside Boogie, not a Boogie with a hoodie, but Westside Boogie. He's from Compton. What they have is a dry erase board, and I have one at the crib. A dry erase board, and what they do is they put every track on that dry erase board. Then they start like connecting, like how we're gonna, you know, what's the overall concept. They put a really circle, like what's the name of the album. Okay, what tracks are on this album, and they kind of like have a big dry erase board and go through it and kind of dissect the crap out of the album.
And we need to do that.
Yeah, we do need it. I was gonna tell you about that too.
I'm gonna get one.
Before the podcast, but I thought that was a pretty dope idea, because I have a dry erase board at the crib, but it's a calendar one that kind of helps me plan out my week.
Dope.
But if you were to have that for like a project, that'd be dope as hell. Or like if you're just working on, you know, a couple tracks or on a project, I think that'll help a lot. It's beneficial.
Yeah.
Whereas but I also know some artists like to like stack music. So like they'll record about anything, blah 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 blah, keep recording songs, and then they'll pick the best out of that, and then, you know, use the rest for other projects or whatnot. I mean, that's a good way too, but I feel like
you get lost in the sauce.
You get lost in the sauce. Also, I feel like only a selective few artists can get away with that if you're extremely talented in that way. You know, if every time you go in the studio, it's like, man, this guy, every time he comes in here, it's gold, you know? Like, if you're special that way, more power to you, then you got an advantage. Like, for me, I can't. I got to, like, strategic, like, either an outline or, like, brainstorm or toss ideas down or whatever, or try to write on the spot. But, like, for me, stacking music sometimes becomes a little, like, redundant. Then I feel like I'm repeating myself.
Yeah. And sometimes some of that music you never release.
Yeah.
Because it gets, to you, it's old, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of like you be like, should I release that? And then you evolve as an artist too. So if you got a lot of music and you're not putting it out, or you're, you know, like you said, stacking it up, then some of that stuff get lost. It does. Because I've experienced that. You know, I've recorded, you know, songs and they never get released because, you know, at that moment you feel a certain way and you're trying to put that out. And sometimes when you keep stacking songs, you know, that moment in your life is you kind of like forgetting about. So a lot of the songs are not, you don't feel it no more, you know. So you don't really put it out, and some of the songs get lost.
Yep. So
working on I mean, for everybody's different, you know. It doesn't matter if you know, like you said, you could be talented and everything you do is gold, and some people it takes longer, but everybody has their own way of really doing that. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think to elaborate a little bit more on like the writer's block issue, excuse me, I find myself too drawing inspiration from like even reading reading certain books. Like right now we're working on a conceptual album that has to do with like astronauts and all this other shit. So I have the book called The Martian. by Andy Weir.
Oh.
It was based on the movie with Matt Damon, and it's about a cavalry of like astronauts. They go to Mars to visit. The crew, like some storm happens. Some of the crew makes it back, but they leave one dude behind, and then he stays in Mars for like tries to survive with the little bit of it he has, and tries to communicate with Earth and let them know that, hey, I'm still alive. Y'all need to come back and save me. So it's a phenomenal freaking book so far. I haven't seen the movie yet, but even reading that based on what we're working on, I'm like, dude, there's so much stuff I can talk about and relate it to like real life shit. So like even reading books, even like I've seen Logic talk about Quentin Tarantino being a very big influence in his music and his videos and the way he approaches art. So like certain directors, certain films, certain there's endless, man. Even art, like actual art, paintings. There's a cool thing that I follow on IG called Street Art Globe or something like that. It's a page where it's just like art, just like random art, and like I'll look at that for hours and I'll draw inspiration from that shit. So I feel like nowadays with all the information on the internet, there's no excuse for you to have writer's block to the point where you're not creating consistently. I feel like there's really no excuse, unless you just want to unplug and live life and just like be a hippie and just like have an adventure, then yeah, for sure. But other than that, I think there's inspiration all around you. It's just
gotta sit back and absorb it.
Exactly. And sometimes it might not come. Sometimes it might not come. Sometimes it's like, there's nothing today. I can't come up with shit. And those are the times where you got to give yourself that time and that breathing room to just chill and just let it come to you. But yeah, I think we covered as much as we can cover when it comes to like writer's block. Again, there's no set way to doing it. It really all depends on what you draw inspiration from. But I think books, movies, art, music. If there's a specific artist that you enjoy listening to that you draw inspiration from, that helps. Real quick, on my way to work the other day, my phone started playing Big Pun's Capital Punishment. Old album, super old, but I was listening to it and I was like, golly, man, he's freaking lyrical. Like even the beats, the shit he was saying, like I forgot how dope. Not that I forgot. I always appreciated Big Pun, but you know what I'm saying? As sound progresses, as you listen to 808s and listen to so many beats that sound the same, you go back in time and then you listen to something and it triggers like a bunch of shit. Like, it brings you back to the time where you first heard that song, or it takes you back to how beats were back in the day, or like, man, maybe I should switch up my flow back to how that used to be. And like I was thinking about that, like that even inspired me, just like listening to old shit, just listening to shit in the 90s and late 90s, early 2000s, like that helps too, because you could bring some of those flows back to what you're doing now and mix it up with the sound now, and I think it makes it more interesting that way.
And even like stepping outside of the genre that you're listening, because I mean, music is music, I mean, like going back to, that's dope. I feel like I find myself doing that before session. I think I did that a few weeks ago, where I had to listen to some DMX because it was just like, man, I had to, or some Mobb Deep, like you get inspired by that stuff,
Yep. I find myself like even listening to like classical music, like Mozart, Beethoven, even like sometimes I think with a producer's mindset, like, man, if I could take this piece right here and chop it up and make it to a beat, like sometimes I'll just listen to instrumentals just to listen, just to see what other melodies. Sometimes you might find a melody that you might have not experimented with before, and then you like it triggers something, and then you start writing. So like
low key, that's how like in the car. When I'm going home from work or when I'm leaving the studio, I'll be playing just classical music in the background low. Because, sometimes when you're in the studio, subconsciously, you're probably, like, listening to a melody you were listening in the car. And, it translates over here without you even knowing.
Facts.
So, yeah, I mean.
Endless ways, man.
Yeah.
There's endless ways. I guess we could just segue. We're going to wrap it up. If you guys feel like you want us to talk about anything in particular, you guys have any questions for us, regarding us and what we're doing, let us know. Comment below on the YouTube channel, on the Goblin Label channel, and let us know, man. Let us know what you guys want to hear, what you guys want us to talk about. We kind of took some of the advice. I know you guys wanted us to look at the camera more, so we're trying to look at the camera more. And
like,
the
subscribe,
sound, like,
share.
subscribe, follow us.
Yep. AQ Run It Back
at AQ Run It Back
on Instagram,
and that's it, right? You don't have Facebook?
I got a website, aqualitymix.com.
There you go. Make sure you visit that. Me at Words1, WRDS1. Again, leave the O out of it. You can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. You can find me on Facebook. I hate Facebook, though. Sorry, Zuckerberg, but I hate Facebook right now. So, but he owns Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram. Yeah. That's where I'm at. Make sure you follow at Goblin Label. That's the man behind the camera. Last episode I said the man behind the mic, and it's actually the camera. So my bad. The guy behind the mic is this guy. The guy behind the camera is Goblin Label. At Goblin Label. Again, dope content. There's dope videos, dope artists that he works with. He's not only shooting our podcast. This is, again, like I said, an experiment that me and Equality came up with, and Goblin wanted to help us with. So, again, we want to make you guys as much part of this as we are. So if you guys have any suggestions, even maybe later down the line we could review music, local music, or even music popular music, whatever.
Play it live on the show.
Yeah, we could play it live on the show, or we can review them and give our honest feedback on a lot of shit. So if you guys value our opinions, you guys think we know what we're talking about, feel free to comment, subscribe. Fucking the more views, the better, man. I can't emphasize that enough. Like,
producers, engineers, artists, all across the board.
All across the board, no matter what. So I think that's it for today, right?
Yeah. We should end this in a prayer, bro. You know what I mean?
Yosito, please help us get more views.
Yeah. So.
On some DMX. Hey, yo, man. But yeah, no, I think that's it. I mean, we kind of covered writer's block to exhaustion at this point. So there shouldn't be a block party at all. But yeah, man, I'm Words. That's Equality, and this is the Soundmind podcast.
All right, brother.
Have a sound mind. Peace.